what are you bringing in, Amit?
So there's a kind of a concern which, a genuine concern which I'm facing, which is troubling me and also hampering growth professionally and personally.
Okay.
So that's what I want to bring to the conversation today. And it's primarily handling ambiguity and chaos. So I don't like at all when things are not planned, uncertain, or something comes up off the cuff. So I get perturbed. So that is the, maybe that's the problem statement to start with.
Okay. And what would a solution look like here?
Firstly, acceptance that you have to thrive or be in ambiguous situations. It also comes. It's a normal thing. And then definitely move towards thriving in it.
So acceptance and thriving eventually. Okay. So, okay. And just out of curiosity, okay, Amit, I absolutely hear you. You're probably familiar with all these acronyms that are trending around this topic as well, right? Dealing with uncertainty and.
So yeah, I'm in the education space, so I am in that space for long enough. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So, would it be a fair understanding, Amit, to say that you're looking for a context, or sorry, you're looking for an approach or a game plan, for the lack of a better word, to have?
The approach is better. Approach in terms of how do I move towards handling ambiguity, and
okay.
That's the intent.
Okay, lovely. Lovely. And you also said, why you bringing in this topic, you said that, look, it's hampering growth, it's troubling me, I get perturbed. How does that show up, Amit? How do you experience it?
So if I give you some examples, professionally, I'm stuck the last 3 years at a particular level. Reason being, I'm very good at quantitative KRAs, but when it becomes qualitative and it becomes fuzzy for me. So, and I don't accept it and I don't deliver on it. So I think that's one. Secondly, the feedback has been given by the leadership that, yeah, you have to be thriving on ambiguous situation as you grow up the ladder. So you're not prepared for it.
Okay. So there is some direct feedback, and you want to find ways to equip yourself to navigate this.
Yes.
Of course, that feedback needs to be responded to appropriately. So I get the significance of what you're hoping to get to here. And what will need to shift? I mean, you've already been aware. You've been in this place, like you said, that I'm stuck here for better part of 3 years now. Having been cognitively aware and yet not really been able to address it. Okay, what's standing in the way?
I think the acceptance, because I've introspected a lot. I personally am a 0 or 1 person. So I feel that gray part can also be brought to finiteness. It's not like you can also work on the gray part and get a finite goal. So why should we have the gray part? So that's maybe the acceptance is not there yet.
And that's very telling. Okay, Amit, this is so it's called the zero-sum classification, right? It's all or nothing, fallacy, whatever. Yeah. There are many phrases which are used to describe, and that's what you're bringing in. The awareness that you're bringing in about yourself is, I'm the 0-1 person. Okay, it's all white for me or it's all black for me. It's very binary mode of operating. There isn't a gray, and acceptance of that ambiguity or the gray is not there. Okay,
not there. And
I'm very curious to know, why is ambiguous gray? Why? What does gray feel like to you?
Gray is there's no finiteness, there is no outcome which I can see, or there's no clear path that, okay, this is the path you have to try to achieve that. There is no score. So I'm an engineer, so maybe the mindset is like to achieve some numbers. So everything I put it to numbers, so there's no number to it.
How did you make this connection, Amit? Again, very curious. Okay, so I get that there's a left in engineering brain here, and you're describing this by saying that when there is ambiguity or when there is that gray, there is no path, there is no score, there is no finiteness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more.
So I've been a salesperson throughout. So I have a number target to achieve every year. So I know how to achieve it and deliver, and I feel a sense of achievement. This is one. And there is a second KRA, which is like manage stakeholders well. I don't understand it. So how do you manage? How do you measure stakeholders well? Somebody would have a buyer. Somebody would have, I don't know. So how do we measure that? Success of.
Okay. And that's why that managing stakeholders falls in the gray for you. That's an example of gray. Okay, I hear you. I hear you absolutely. And then that's where that feedback is coming from. That even if it's not a measurable, defined metric kind of a outcome, but it needs to be engaged with, and at leadership level. And that's what that meant. That at leadership level, you have to deal with some of this ambiguity. Okay. Amit, even as you shared this whole context and talking it out loud again, okay, any new dots you are connecting?
Nothing. I think it's also happening in the personal space as well. So I think everywhere it is connecting, but I'm not accepting it. I know what is wrong with me.
What is wrong with you?
So that to be there, it is. There will be gray situations. You'll have to be also thrive on it or accept it that it is gray and work towards it rather than trying to bring finiteness to that as well.
Okay. This finiteness or that measurability seems to be a very important parameter. Is that the only thing that's stopping you from acceptance?
No, I think I need certainty. So end is certainty in terms of everything. I don't like ad hoc situations. So I try to plan my day, plan my week, plan my month. So if something comes out of place, I get sorry to use that word again, but that is the feeling.
No, that's okay. That's okay. And how do you deal with that? When that happens, when you're feeling that perturbed feelings coming up, how do you process it?
I become inefficient. I walk away from that. So that's where it is also affecting the other outcomes.
And what's the price you're paying for this?
So I've paid a lot of price in personal space and professional space also. I'm getting stuck at growth. My growth is stunted.
What behavior would be useful instead?
I think one is I feel I'm rigid, so I need to be open, flexible, open to unlearn whatever value systems or I've built over the last 45 years. So that's what.
And that's a tall ask, right? Unlearn the value systems.
Yeah. It's a tall ask. That's the reason I'm struggling. So I think I know where I'm going wrong, but it's very difficult to change.
Amit, you already have a lot of awareness that I'm being rigid. I need to be a little more open. I need to unlearn some of this value system. I need to start accepting so that eventually I can be thriving. And the fact that the choices that you've been making so far, they're coming at a price on the professional front. They're coming at a price on the personal front as well. What narrative can you now embrace that will help you at least start the process of becoming a little more open, becoming a little more unrigid?
I think one narrative is there that the kind of failure or whatever pain I've gone through is good enough to take me to the trigger. So I've reached near the trigger. Now I need another trigger to move towards doing it. So I know it has to be done now. I'm at a stage that I will do it. But what's the approach as we discussed to take small steps and get some small wins and start believing that this works?
Okay. So let's take one of the, let's take your workplace context, because that's where you brought in some experiences you had, feedback, and the fact that, you want to now get unstuck. It's a long-standing situation, etc. What are some options that you see for yourself, and specifically you said this managing stakeholders is one of those non-finite, unmeasurable, ambiguous grays kind of a situation. Okay. How can you, Amit, if you look at managing stakeholders as something that at your leadership level you need to engage with, what would be some things to do that help you increase that certainty in that space?
I think It's dual. One is my efforts in terms of how do I do it and how do I interact with them and how do I personally perceive them and record them. Second is also I would expect from the organization to use some, that's again bringing that 0-1 concept of using some instruments to like a 360-degree feedback or something where I know, okay, this is my baseline and how I've moved over the years. That also brings some kind of finiteness to the goal.
Right. So what I'm hearing, Amit, here is I don't have a baseline as to how I'm doing with respect to this particular engaging with the stakeholders. I don't know where I stand. I need a baseline, and then I will make the efforts, but I also need a read on how it's working, or are we in the right direction, so on. Okay. I understand. And do you think you'll find this kind of support in the organization, given the fact that some feedback has been shared with you in the past, etc.? Will you find this support?
Not in the current organization. No way, because they don't have a very structured process there. So I think
there isn't a structured process. Okay, but yet it is a need of yours. Yes. Is it possible for us to address that need outside of the organization's formal structured 360?
Yeah, I think so. I think we can do that. I think it can be done by myself itself. So it's not like I have to depend on the organization. I can. There are like 6-7 stakeholders. You can have a conversation at the end of the year, seek feedback, and move on. That's it. Yeah.
Okay. How hard or easy is that conversation going to be for you with those 6?
Very difficult. Very difficult.
Very difficult. Okay. So what's the most difficult part?
Again, because it's perception. It is not a hardcore, again, achievable thing which I can measure. So they can say, okay, we interacted, it was this, so but that was their thought process, and I don't have a baseline again. So that becomes a little difficult. One. Secondly, in terms of taking feedback, again, a little blocked. So that's another maybe a reflection I'm taking, getting out of it. So in terms of the rigidity also flows that I might not listen to them, only hear them out. So that might be a challenge. Yeah.
But you've already anticipated this challenge, Amit. This is better than being a blind spot.
That's not a blind spot. I have anticipated and experienced it also in the past.
Okay. So if you were to make a more intentional choice now, what would work?
I'll have to consciously make effort to be open. That's what, again, it all comes down to unlearning and opening up my mindset to accept things, new things. I think that's the change.
Okay.
In everything, accept new things is the change I want to bring it to myself rather than, once I accept new things, I think ambiguity is an outcome. One of the changes to be accepted.
And what will that acceptance of new things, unlearning, do to that ambiguity?
I think I'll be open to that. I will be open to tread the path, take the approach, be positive about it, do all what it matters to accept it and thrive in it. Yeah.
Amit, it's my sense here, and maybe I'm off the mark, okay? But it's my sense here that it will also bring that gray will probably resolve a little better to a black or a white scale as well. Because like you said, okay, I don't have a baseline. But as you begin, so there is acceptance, there is openness, there's lack of rigidity, acceptance of new things. Or as you bring in some of those mindsets and behaviors into your interaction with these stakeholders, a baseline will emerge. That's my sense. And that will probably bring in that little bit of measurability, finiteness, baseline to where we are now, and hence give us a better lens to what we could potentially do. I don't know.
I think you're correct in terms of at least if I get a certain iota of finiteness, it's more than enough for me. I'll tread the path. Okay.
And do you think you've just figured out how to create that iota of finiteness for yourself?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. More power to you as you take this forward, especially because you're going to be driving this yourself, okay, without a structure organizationally backing you up. Just checking in, from where you started to say that, okay, I need to figure a way to accept first and then figure out how to thrive, okay? Where are we in the conversation now? How is your orientation now?
I think we dwelled deeper in that, and maybe there are some root causes which I could figure out. maybe I need to introspect more on that, accepting new things, unlearning, all these came out. It was not in the part of my thought process. So maybe I need to introspect and have a kind of a roadmap created around it.
Okay, see, there's the engineering brain back at making roadmaps as well. Nice, very nice. Okay, so it's just there's some kind of a structure around what you're going to do next coming together. As you know, the minute you say roadmap, to me it looks like timelines and milestones defined.
Yeah.
And what new connections are you making about yourself?
I think, yeah, so there are a few things which I, like 70% I was aware. Some few things which came out in the discussion is very important, that the belief came up, yeah, something can be brought to finiteness. And another important element which I never thought was having a baseline. I think I never thought on that. I was only thinking about the outcome, what is the end goal. But I think most important challenge is not the end goal, having a baseline in the gray area. So like what is it? In relationships also, there has to be a baseline created. It's not about a number, but yes, there has to be a situation that maybe you communicate with your loved ones once in a day, or again, I'm putting a number, but that's what my thought process is. A baseline is important. Yeah.
That's a very powerful shift, right? That's almost giving me a sense of what you're picking up here, you can use elsewhere in your personal space.
Yeah.
How would you do that, Amit?
I think I will pick up situations, because I have identified situations where it went wrong personally. So now I will definitely encounter those in future on a daily basis. I will try to shift my mindset to before the conversation mentally, to at least have a mental baseline, and then see how it progresses with an open mind. That's the only thing I can do, and see if it works. If it works 5% also, that's a win.
That's powerful. That's powerful. And it's going to be a very big shift for you from where you are now. It's a very big shift for you to go outside that rigidity and to go outside in that gray space, right? Making something work. That's very courageous of you, Amit.
Thank you.
I realize it's a very unfamiliar territory for you.
Yeah.
Also, just checking in, Amit, as that roadmap is kind of coming together in your head, maybe one or two things that you want to start doing in the beginning.
I think most important is listening to people's perspective. I think that is where not only hearing it out, but yes, also internalizing that and see from other people's viewpoint why they are saying what they are doing, which I don't do now. It's full of me, so I need to move away from it a bit. That's the first. Second is in terms of very important is to flow with things. I think that's another thing, is rather than every day cannot be planned to the T. So try to be in the space, be in the current, and move forward.
Some very deep reflections. Okay, intention to listen, intention to go with the flow. Okay. And you also spoke about establishing that baseline to some extent, figuring a 360 with those 5-6 critical stakeholders. Amit, do you have any folks in your ecosystem who you can lean on, who you can mobilize some support from towards these intentions?
Yeah, absolutely. Both in my professional space and personal space as well. Yeah.
Okay, you will be able to enable some support for yourself. And anything you're anticipating that's going to be a roadblock?
Myself. Nothing else. Mindset.
What about your mindset is going to be a roadblock?
Yeah, this is all, I think, great things we have spoken. To action it is the important element. Yeah.
And then how do you get over that roadblock then?
So that's what. So I will get over the roadblock because I can see a sense of creating a baseline. I think I see a sense of listening, and it has to be done. So there is again a thing where now it's cornered so much that you need to take the step, and I'm convinced about it. So it's not like I will not take that step yet.
Okay.
More of the discussion when that I am convinced now. Okay, let's move forward and see how it unfolds.
Okay, so you'll power through it because you're seeing value in doing that. Okay, so you will encounter some mindset. You will encounter that, but you kind of power through it because there is always that this makes sense. I've decided to do this.
Yeah.
Okay, I hear you, Amit. is there any way, any mechanism that you want to define for yourself to just check in on how you're progressing? Are you staying true to this intention?
So I have defined this problem statement again. I will, again, sorry to use a jargon, I'll create a fishbone and see what are the causes. And there might be 6-7 causes of listening, creating a baseline, non-numeric goals, and try to chalk off one by one. That's what I will do.
Wow. Okay. It's outstanding, Amit. Okay, that systemic way of approaching, it's outstanding. Okay, all the best as you take this forward.
Thank you.
Amit, through this very short conversation, what would you like to acknowledge yourself for?
Yeah, which I was telling you that I don't listen. I think I was using it effectively. I was reflecting. I was understanding the perspective shared. I think that's the first step taken. I think I'm more than happy for doing that. Yeah.
Okay. I want to acknowledge you for staying with this discomfort. Okay, Amit. I know this conversation has been very unfamiliar territory. It has made you present to many of the discomforting experiences, many of the unfamiliar, uncertain gray spaces that you're currently navigating, and yet you stayed the course, you stayed with that discomfort, and you came to this resolution. Okay, that is beautiful. And of course, I'm mind blown because I've never had somebody actually say that, look, I'm picking these things up and I'm going to go back and do a fishbone and see what comes up and then solve for it. Okay, so that is mind blowing as well. And all the best as you take this forward.
Thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.